Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. So you may have noticed that a few things are different this Sunday, and a few other things will be different too, and that's because today is the first Sunday of Advent. And Advent is the beginning of the church year, and I'll get more into that later. But I want to address our gospel and our readings today because they are very apocalyptic in nature. And I know how much Episcopalians love the idea of apocalyptic themes. And we live in Missouri, the buckle of the Bible Belt. And so I'm guessing at some point you have received a glossy flyer telling you if you come to this big conference, day-long session in which they tell you when the end of the world is coming and how to know and how to prep for it. I'm guessing you've received that flyer. Anyone received that flyer? I have received that flyer. Here's the deal. How did you escape? You live in the wrong neighborhood if you've not received that flyer, Michelle. You're just lucky. I'm moving to y'all's neighborhood. My neighborhood, they come knock on my door and they say, you have small children, you would love to be at our church. And I'm like, I work on Sundays. I've skated through a lot of situations with I work on Sundays. Anyway, if you haven't received that glossy flyer, you probably have heard conversations about the end of the world is coming, the end of the world is coming, it's near, and here's how you could know. You can't know. We don't know. Jesus didn't know. So here's this gospel in a nutshell. You don't know. You're not gonna know. Be a good Christian anyway. Because we're not good Christians with the idea that there's this little carrot at the end of life, and if we're good Christians, we get the carrot. And if we're bad Christians, we get the stick. Okay? That's not how this works. Christianity is not carrot versus stick. And if you do it right, you get yourself a carrot. Nobody wants no carrot. Give me a box of Godiva chocolates, and I'll do whatever you want. But this is not a carrot and a stick. That is not how religion works. Be a good Christian just because it's the right thing to do and because we live in thanksgiving for the fact that a God created us and a God gave us this world and a God loves us even though we do not deserve it. That is why we're good Christians. Okay, we all got this gospel? We all good. You don't need to spend no $25 going to no conference all day long to hear about how we're all going to burn in hell if you don't know the right date. You're fine. You're fine because God loves you. That is the point. Okay, so we're all good there, right? We're all good? All right. Let's talk some more about liturgical calendars. Because, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but Episcopalians believe in the liturgical calendar. We follow a liturgical calendar. And I know I don't talk about it a whole lot, so I thought we'd talk about it today. Who's really excited? Did you know that my espresso machine broke? If you haven't noticed that something's up today, I'm giving you fair warning. My espresso machine broke, and the part has not arrived for Eric to fix my espresso machine yet, so we're just going to see what happens. I don't know, but you're not going to hell, and I'm not going to hell either. We're all going to be fine. So we're going to talk about the liturgical calendar instead. So we as Episcopalians, you'll notice we follow a lectionary cycle. In the lectionary cycle, this is really handy news for those of you who come across a friend who's like, I go to a Bible-based church, and you're like, what is that? I think that's all churches. But y'all, we read more of the Bible than they do. Because we read the entire Bible in 3 years. Not whatever Meg feels like reading today because it's her personal favorite. And she's got a really good sermon that she can get really fired up about. Have you ever noticed that? They've got like 5 good ones. We all have 5 good sermons. Now, I have to stretch my 5 good sermons out over 3 years. That's unfortunate for you. Okay, so in 3 years, we will read the entire Bible. I mean, barring the bashing baby head psalm, you got to come for morning prayer for that one. But we read the entire Bible. Okay, so we are a liturgically based church, which means in 3 years we go through the whole thing. And it also means that we follow something called a liturgical calendar. Have you ever noticed how confusing the readings are? Like, you go from like one thing to the next, and you're like, whoa, wait, Jesus was just born, and now he's 32, and we're baptizing him? Hold on. Jesus was just 32. He just started his ministry, and now we're killing him? Like, anyone else ever been like, what is happening? Anyone else been like, what's up with the color she's wearing? One of my favorite stories is that it was Pentecost, and this is not this church. This is a previous church. And so I'm wearing all my red regalia, right? And a woman comes to me afterwards, good sermon preacher, good sermon preacher, good sermon preacher, you know how we always do. And she's like, I just love the way you look in red. You should wear it more often. And I was like, well, it's because of liturgical calendar. You know, Pentecost doesn't happen all that often, so I only wear it when it's Pentecost. Okay, so let's talk liturgical time. I brought a prop. Who's excited that Meg has props? Yay. Okay, so time, when we think about it, is a line, right? Right? You're born. You go through the little line. We're born down here. This would be a lot easier if my left hand worked, but I have MS and it doesn't, so that's unfortunate for you. And we go through our life, and we get to the end of our little timeline, and what happens? We die. And it's sad. And we go through our timeline. We think time is the same way, right? We think time goes like this. It's January 1st. You make your little rules, right? For yourself, you're going to lose that last 5 pounds or 15, whatever. I ain't judging you. And you come to February, and you're like, well, that was stupid. Valentine's Day candy, it's on sale now. Forget it. And then we come to Lent, and you're like, well, now's when I'm going to do it because I'm going to lose those last 10 pounds for Jesus. Jesus don't care how fat you are. God created you the way you are. Whatever. So we're going to go 40 days. That didn't work because Easter candy goes on sale, and we're like, forget it. Because Cadbury eggs show up, and you're like, you can't wait for Easter when they go on sale because everybody had done ate those Cadbury eggs. You got to go at the beginning. And then it comes to December, and you're like, oh, God, I got to set a budget because I got to get all these Christmas presents that nobody wants. But you're going to get them, or you're going to re-gift something that somebody gave you last year. No judgment. You do you. And then we're back to January, right? And we go all the way back to, like, now you're, like, 20 pounds overweight, and you're going to lose it all again. It ain't going to happen. No judgment. Okay. Here's the thing. I know. Y'all are, Eric fixed that espresso machine. Okay. Here's the thing. Time is not linear. Time is not linear. It's a purely Western European concept that we have that time is linear. It's not. Time goes like this. And the church remembers that time is really a circle. And so we have the church calendar to remind us that time is not linear. Time is cyclical. Our lives are cyclical. And with every birth, we know that there's an end, right? We know. We like to avoid it. We do things like open casket funerals where we say, oh, look, they look like they're sleeping. They don't. I've blessed a lot of dead people. They're not sleeping. And I've touched a lot of, like, kids, you know. Have you ever, when you're, like, you first have a baby and, like, they terrify you about SIDS, right? And so your kid is sleeping and they look adorable. What is the worst thing to do? But every new parent does it. Yeah. That's stupid. Don't do that. Okay. So we know that every beginning has an ending, right? But here's what we know in the church, and this is what's really, really important. Every ending is also a beginning. And that's super, super important for us because we don't understand that in our day-to-day lives, do we? And that's what this is all about. So as we begin Advent, I ask you to think about this very specifically. Stop being so afraid of the endings. Know that every ending is a new beginning. And that doesn't mean it's not painful or scary, but realize that we don't have new beginnings without the endings. For every death, there is a birth. There are no births without those deaths. And so that's really, really important. As we go into this Advent, I ask you to think about this a little bit more. We are beginning Advent. And here's another thing I should probably explain about the church calendar. So you'll notice some of the colors, right? You'll notice big events are white. Celebrations are always white. Celebration is always, always white. Which is why funerals, because they're a new beginning, are white. That's really, really important. Because remember, a funeral is really just a beginning. And we have some purple, right? We have some purple. Purple is a preparation time. It's a time of kings. It's the time of preparation. It's a time of reflection and getting ready for something. Now, this is really, really important because we live in a secular world. The 12 days of Christmas are a thing. The 12 days of Christmas come after Christmas. And they're white. They're white. They're not purple. Purple is Advent and Lent because big events like Christmas and indeed Easter are big mysteries that we don't understand. We can't wrap our minds around them, can we? Because it's so weird. Christmas is weird. Can we all just take a minute to agree that Christmas is weird? It's weird. And it doesn't make sense. We don't understand it. It is a mystery that we spend a whole of our time trying to comprehend, and we can't comprehend it, so we clean it up and we turn it into Renaissance paintings and we put it on Christmas cards and act like it's not weird. It's weird. And we can be okay with the weird, okay? But it's a time of mystery. It's a time that we don't completely understand. And so it takes preparation to really, really get that. And so we spend 4 weeks preparing for that. Again, I'm going to go back to the birth story, right? When you have a child, it's weird. And we spend a whole lot of time trying to clean it up, right? And act like babies smell good. They don't. And we try to act like giving birth is romantic. It's not. I've done it. It's nasty. But it's a mystery. And it's a miracle. It's nasty, but it's a miracle. And I will tell you, when you're giving birth, like I did, and you don't believe in epidurals, it feels like birth. But it's this. And that is beautiful, and that's wonderful. And are we okay with the fact that sometimes it doesn't make sense, and sometimes it's painful, and sometimes it feels like the end? But really, the end is the beginning. So we're going to spend 4 weeks preparing for that because it's a big deal. And when you bring a new tiny life into your world, it takes preparation. And when you do it really quickly, you know that it takes preparation. And then we're going to do it again for Lent. Now, Lent is a huge mystery because the crucifixion and the resurrection is so bizarre and so outside. It's going to take us about 7 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks to get ready for that. So we're going to take a longer time. That's called Lent. And when we get to that, we're going to spend some time reflecting on that and about the wonder that is Easter. And after that, we're going to spend some time reflecting on the fact that Jesus is gone, but Christ is still with us. We're going to spend some time figuring out how the disciples saw Christ in their world even though Jesus was dead. That was complicated, right? It's going to take us a few weeks, and then we're going to get to Pentecost. Pentecost is red. Pentecost is hot. That's why it's red. Because that's when you and I have to step in, and we have to be the church, and it's brand new, and we don't know how to do that, and it hurts sometimes, right? And then we enter a time period called the green period, right? That's the growing season. Summer gets longer. We start to understand how to be the church. That is our season of green, liturgical green season. the green growing season. We're going to do that for a while. And as the days get shorter and we get closer to the end, we're going to reflect some more about that. And it's going to start to feel weird. And then we're going to come all the way around. We're going to start all over again with Advent. And it's really important that we comprehend how this stuff works, because we are so used to that linear process, aren't we? We're so used to the birth, the death, it's over. At the beginning and the end, it's good or it's bad, right? And here's the reality. There is no good or bad. There is no beginning without endings. There are no endings without beginnings. They are all together, and they are all sacred, and they are all one. And so as we enter this season, I ask you to start reflecting. Start reflecting. For us to be born again, for us to really understand and welcome Christ into our lives, what do we have to let go of? What has to be let go of? What has to die for that new birth? We all have stuff, right? And that's the beauty of Advent. You have some time to reflect on that. To welcome Christ into our world, what must we let go of? What has to be at the end of this ribbon? We all have things that have to be at the end of this ribbon for the beginning to begin. So, we've got a few weeks. You've got a few weeks to think about it. And I could talk to you about the apocalypse. I can talk to you about all that stuff, but guess what? You don't really need to worry about that. What you need to worry about is this. What do I need to let go of? What needs to go? What needs to die so that rebirth can begin again? What do I need to let go of to let Christ into my world brand new for a new beginning? And I'll tell you what, it's not Slim Fast. It's not a keto diet. It's not any of those things. It's something within our hearts so big that it chases Jesus out. So this Advent, I ask you, reflect. What is it? What needs to be let go of so God can get in? We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. Stand together and say the words of grace and creed. We believe in one God,